Off the Edge on Tide 100.9.
Focus on what you want to do, what you want to accomplish. Think about that. Don't think about how you feel, how tired you are, how hot it is. You got to push yourself on the field like when you're playing football.
It's my honor to present the National Championship Trophy to Coach Nick Saban and the Alabama Crimson Tide.
To me, this is the ultimate team. All these guys bought into everything they needed to do to be the best players that they could be. There's more togetherness on this team than almost any team that we've ever had. And they had to overcome and persevere so much adversity through this season, and they've done it magnificently. And I'm so proud of this group for what they've been able to accomplish and going undefeated and winning the national championship.
Streaming live on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and the Tide 100.9 app. Here is your host of Off the Edge, Jacob Harrison.
Hello there. Good morning. Welcome into Off the Edge, Tide 100.9, your home for Alabama Crimson Tide sports. I am Jacob Harrison. Got Bryant Horn producing the show. Palmer McCall hanging out as well. We got plenty to get into today. We were out of practice yesterday. Camera worked. Got to see a little bit better what was going on. Got a clear view of the edge rushers. Got a better understanding of the right tackle position, the off-ball linebackers, some of the wide receiver depth as well. Plenty to get into. 205-342-9904, the phone number to call if you want to join the show and join in on the topics that we have at hand today. Before we get started on anything too deep, as always, the show streams live on the Tide 100.9 app, available to you on Android and Apple devices. Just search up Tide 109 in your Google Play or App Store and enjoy all of our written content on the air as well. Everything you need, wall-to-wall coverage of the Alabama Crimson Tide, as well as on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube for this very show at Off the Edge 109 on all platforms. We've got you covered there as well. Big things in store on the social media sides as well. So stay tuned and give us a follow, like, share, subscribe, all those fancy, awesome things that you can do there to help us out. So what I kind of gathered yesterday was that we're getting closer and closer, right? We're getting to that point where practice is going to get just a little bit more intense every day, right? You're hearing the coaches yelling this time instead of being just a tad bit more patient. It's time to turn up. It's time to get ready to take on the Miami Hurricanes as if the game were tomorrow, right? And that's kind of what happened. That's why I led with it, Tide109.com in yesterday's practice report, is that Sal Sunseri was getting after these edge rushers, man, because every little thing matters. Every little thing matters. You know, when coach tells you to line up in a specified stance, you got to do it, right? When there's that little nuance in a pass rushing move to grab the cloth right before you swim over, you've got to do it, right? Like, the little things matter. You're going to play how you practice. And if you're practicing perfect, you're going to continue to get better. And, you know, and you've got to show that towards the star players too, because that's who Sunseri was yelling at, was Chris Allen and Will Anderson, right? So just know that even with all the coaching turnover, and I know Sunseri's been here before, but with all the coaching turnover, everything's still Alabama Crimson Tide 100%. And I got to say, too, with the pass rushers, you know, that's the position group that's right in front of us during the media viewing periods, and which is awesome for me because we all know, like, that's my favorite position. You get to see Will Anderson and Chris Allen up close, you know, really actually working on their pass rushing moves. Like these are, you know, these are serious opportunities. It's not one-on-ones against the offensive linemen, which are geared towards defensive success anyway. But it still gives you an idea of what they're working on, the different types of moves that they're going to implement, but as well as the groups, right? So, you know, Anderson and Allen are going to work together, but now we're seeing that Braswell and Sanders are working together. Five-star freshman Dallas Turner is working with King Makuta, who's still out there despite being in the transfer portal. See, portal's not all bad. So we'll see, a little bit later how exactly those rotations will alter and how those rotations will intermingle with other rotations. If Drew Sanders and Chris Braswell can nab a few reps away from Will Anderson and Chris Allen, I anticipate that at least Braswell will, as kind of a reserve. If Anderson and Allen need a breather on a longer drive, then that's where they get their opportunity. But I got to say, at the same time, like, just to quell anything is the fact that yes, you're going to get yelled at no matter how good of a player you are. But at the same time, those players want it. And Brian, if we have the Will Anderson from Nick Saban yesterday or Sunday, excuse me, that I would like to go to that because it shows that, Will Anderson and Chris Allen, all these guys, right? And you're willing to buy in and you're willing to do whatever it takes to continue to get better. That's when you're talking about elite players. When you're talking about guys who are not satisfied, when you're talking about guys that are continuously efforting to get better and better and better. And that's why I was so impressed last year with Chris Allen and the way that he skyrocketed his stock throughout the season, continuously getting better and better and better. Will Anderson, start of the season, Nick Saban talks about it. Start of the season, it wasn't so much of a I know exactly what's going on. I'm going based off of my athleticism and my instincts to understanding the defense and becoming an even bigger role player as far as creating sacks and creating turnovers and doing those sorts of things and making it work. So it has vanished into obscurity. We'll get to it in the second break, but that in turn goes to Jahleel Billingsley, right? Who did return at practice yesterday. As many reporters reported is the word. But with Jahleel Billingsley, there may have been that hint of fear with some fans as to what exactly was going on. Well, what are the things that he needs to buy into, Nick Saban? What are the things that he needs to do that the rest of the team are doing? What are the things he needs to do to be a good teammate, right? All those sorts of things. Well, apparently he's done at least some of them because we were expecting a couple of days, right? We were expecting to have to wait a minute, right? Nonetheless, he's out there on a Monday and we're able to put eyes on him. And that just gets you giddy, right? When it comes to what Billingsley and Latu bring as a tandem. These are two guys that mesh well together. You want that dynamic guy and another guy that's kind of balanced, right? And they work symbiotically and they can produce great things for this offense, especially when you're still testing out and seeing what the wide receiver rotation is going to be. And we'll touch on that a little bit later. And what the running back rotation is going to be. And you're still efforting to find the best five on the offensive line. Tight ends are a quarterback's best friend for a reason. And Bryce Young is going to have to look at them early and often as well. They're going to be big parts of this offense. Bill O'Brien, yes, he will be running Alabama's offense, but he still has his tendencies, right? And he'll still be able to put his mark on the offense, regardless of how many times he says, well, this is Alabama's offense. This is Alabama's offense. Because he also alluded to the fact that, Lane Kiffin, created the offense, but he continued to put his little nuances in there. Steve Sarkisian did the same thing, right? All these guys, Mike Locksley put his touches on it. All these guys were able to implement their things, but it also looked a little bit different with each guy, having to use different quarterbacks and so on and so forth. But you do see those little nuances from each offensive coordinator. So that Bill O'Brien is going to still bring, what he incorporates as a play caller, as the things that he's looking for at each position, what his tendencies are. And honestly, one of the biggest standouts to Bill O'Brien as an offensive play caller has been when there's more questions in his passing game, he tends to throw the football even more. There's questions all across the offensive side of the ball for the Alabama Crimson Tide. Not alarming questions, but the thoughts of, okay, well, what exactly are we getting out of Bryce Young? Is he a Johnny Manziel type, or where on the field where he's scrambling and he's making things happen with his athleticism, or is he a Tua Tagovailoa type? Yes, he's a great athlete, but he's going to get the work done in the pocket first with incredible accuracy. Or, is he a Mac Jones type where, it's all about the accuracy. It's all about the rhythm and the timing and the understanding of the offense, right? All three of these guys do things completely differently. And you can throw Jalen Hurts in there as well. Is he just purely a runner? And he'll develop as a passer as the years kind of wear on, right? Well, we know that that's not necessarily the case because we know that he's got a better arm. But you understand, like it's something where you still have to see it in live action in a meaningful game to understand what these guys bring to the table. And it doesn't just stop at Bryce Young. It goes to everybody who is unproven, right? Or it even goes out to Evan Neal, who, yes, is a more natural left tackle, but there's a reason draft analysts and experts are still waiting to see the tape and the film on him at that position because he hasn't played it since high school. You want to see, is he really that natural fit? Is he really that kind of guy? Of course he is. Of course he is. But we still, as people trying to analyze and figure out what's going on with the football team, you still have to wait until the season starts to get a full and clear picture. That's why I'm so confident in the defenses, because we've seen everybody on that defense do something to make you feel extremely, extremely positive about what's going on. So when I look at the defense and I look at what Will Anderson and Chris Allen are having to eat from Sal Sunseri in group practice drills and, working against the sled, working against dummies and, working against each other in groups, I see that as a positive, as, okay, this is the best group of athletes on the field, objectively. That's my opinion. And they're still having to get chewed out, right? They're still having to work on everything. And that's fine because it's on day 3, right? We still got a month to go until we're meeting Miami and Atlanta. But it all works for the betterment of the football team. And it all shows that these are guys that are trying to continue to get better and understand what the process is a continuous effort to continue to get better. And to put last year in the rearview mirror, it was great, but we're still vying to be an even better football team than last year, despite all the turnover on offense. And despite the fact that we bring back so much of this defense, there's still so much room for improvement because the defense was young last year and only took its first steps into becoming that elite defense that every Alabama fan wants to see when it comes to Nick Saban's Alabama Crimson Tide juggernaut. I think we're well on our way. When we come back, I want to discuss Henry To'oTo'o, who I finally got to see in real time. We learned a little bit about his leadership skills as well on Tide109.com, and I'll direct you towards that. All that more off the edge. Tide 100.9, your home for Alabama Crimson Tide sports.
This is Renee.
Happy to be here.
She's not some influencer. She's more of a groundbreaker, turning her 4-acre lot into a little slice of heaven behind the wheel of a John Deere 1 Series tractor. Renee runs with us because the most important job is the next one.
That's all I got.
Nothing runs like a Deere. Get a 1 Series tractor for just $99 per month at your John Deere dealer today. For additional cost information, please call toll-free 855-633-2315.
Attention business owners, if your biggest question is, how can I find more customers? Then Town Square can help. Go to mylocalcustomers.com for a free competitive analysis that will show you how the most successful businesses grow and how you can do it too. These strategies are simple and we can show you how to apply them to your business. Be one of the first businesses to sign up and you'll receive $500 in free advertising on this radio station. Visit mylocalcustomers.com. That's mylocalcustomers.com.
Touchdown! Alabama wins! The Alabama football countdown clock is driven by Crawford Insurance, Tuscaloosa's low-cost auto insurer. Call 752-6489 for a free quote today.
Roll Tide! Roll Tide!
There are 25 days until Alabama football.
Dominate! At Shell, we know from the time you get up to the time you wrap up,
Good night.
there's a lot of meetups, eat-ups, and hurry-ups. So come to Shell and get 3 things done at once. Fill up with Shell V-Power Nitro Plus to help keep your engine running like new. Save up with the Fuel Rewards program and never pay full price for gas again. And snack up with in-store rewards to save even more at the pump. Make the most of the stop you need to make with Shell and engines that continuously use Shell V-Power Nitro Plus premium gasoline. See full terms and conditions at fuelrewards.com.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Partially sunny with scattered showers and thunderstorms through early tonight. Today's high 93, tonight's low 73. Very similar weather tomorrow. Morning sunshine, scattered showers and storms developing by afternoon. The high also 93. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 88 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
We aren't going anywhere. Off the Edge is available in the podcast center on Tide100.9.com.
We're back here on Off the Edge, Tide 100.9, your home for Alabama Crimson Tide Sports. I'm Jacob Harrison, Bryant Horn, Palmer McCall hanging out with us, producing the show as well. 205-342-9904, the phone number. Join the show, join the conversation. We found the Will Anderson audio from Nick Saban. It was right under our noses. That's usually where you find it, right? But nonetheless, to get right into it, Nick Saban talked about Will Anderson and what he's trying to do to continue to get better, right? So let's hear from the greatest coach in football discussing one of the top players on the Alabama Crimson Tide.
You know, I think every player has things that they can work on to improve. I think that, you know, Will was very productive last year because he's a good pass rusher and he's an unselfish player. He doesn't get pushed by the quarterback trying to make a sack, and you know that has a negative impact on that play on defense. When it comes to defending the other team, because now we're playing with 10, I think he has a better understanding, and I think this is probably the key for him to continue to develop of the overall system. You know, last year as a freshman, you know, early on, especially in the first half of the season, you know, the young players that we had playing, including Will, you know, I don't think they had a total grasp of what the expectation was for them to contribute to the defense in a positive way, even though he had a tremendous impact. But that impact grew as the season went on. And I think because of knowledge and experience, that's going to continue to happen in the future. And we're pleased with the progress that he made. You know, he's the kind of person that he's not satisfied, you know, with where he is. He works hard every day, and he's always trying to get better. And, you know, I love, you know, working else on our team.
And see, that's what we're talking about when it comes to a guy that is continuously trying to get better, is continuously efforting towards the goal, which is, you know, of course, repeating as national champions, but also playing the part of being a leader and doing what it takes to continuously get better and better. So when I look at that and I look at a guy like Henry To'oTo'o, who, by the way, I mean, is a physical specimen. Like, he is intense out there. He's smooth, smart on his feet, athletic as hell. And I'm excited to see what Henry To'oTo'o brings to this defense because of the fact, and we've discussed it a little bit here and there on the show, because of the fact he doesn't have to learn that much defensively coming from Jeremy Pruitt's system and defense there in Tennessee. He comes to Alabama and already has some of that knowledge, right? So when you think about the transfer portal and you think about guys that have made it work here at Alabama, it's not very many, right? There's not usually an opportunity for a transfer to come in and really, you know, take a job immediately and stand out. Alabama is not usually a transfer destination. So, you know, yesterday talk at length about Jameson Williams and what I hope to see out of him as a guy who, you know, is high up in the depth chart. I mean, when you consider the guys that have been here and haven't had opportunities, and you consider you know, the guys that are coming back and expected to have those opportunities, you know, you expect a little bit out of Jameson Williams because there's opportunity right there. But when it comes to Henry To'oTo'o, it's more of a, guy that is coming in with the idea of expected leadership, right? And it made me think of Landon Dickerson, right? A guy who comes in and is able to produce as a leader as well as get on the football field relatively early and contribute to the football team. You don't expect legends to come out of the transfer portal, right? And that's exactly what Landon Dickerson is a legend, right? He comes in, he's one of the most popular players to ever play here. I'm not saying that's what Henry To'oto is really stacked against and what his expectations are. Hell, he's probably only going to play here for a single season and then go to the NFL in all likelihood. Now that he's playing for Alabama, he's got a few more eyes on him. And he's going to be able to show off the athleticism that makes him so special. But he's also going to be able to show off the smarts and show off the fact that, while yes, the systems are similar, he still learned a different system and went in prepared and was able to take a starting job immediately and get the ball rolling, right? That being said, when it comes to his skill set, what he brings as a guy that can be an intense blitzer, has incredible closing speed, is good in coverage, and is going to be able to assist and accommodate what Christian Harris does next to him. It's an exciting place to be with the Alabama defense where To'oto can kind of help stave off and allow for the growth that guys like Deontay Lawson and Jalen Moody need to be ready, right? Jalen Moody's a guy that I'm excited to see get on the field as well in more run expected downs, and he can bring a lot in those situations, right? But you can also look at what Deontay Lawson brings as an intense athlete himself, a guy that had a 20 tackle game in high school at Mobile Christian, a guy whose coach compared him to Derek Brooks of all linebackers. Like, that's a guy that can come in and play a role as well. We'll get to see him a little bit on special teams too, but I'm still excited to see kind of if there is a rotation there inside linebacker the same as outside, because the two starters are so incredible. How do you take them off the field even when their stamina is low? Well, sometimes you kind of have to, and sometimes the situations dictate themselves, and that's where you fall into, well, at least you feel good about the guys that are behind him with Jalen Moody and with Deontay Lawson. And those are the two guys that have been taking the reps immediately after them, the two guys that you would anticipate would be in that spot. 205-342-9904. Looking at the right tackle spot, that's been one of my biggest hangups, right? Is who's going to be the right tackle? Because I'm not crazy about it being Kendall Randolph because of what we had seen through most of the last season, right? It is quite inconsistent. A guy that played that split time at tight end as well to aid in the blocking efforts and those sorts of things. But I will say, what you've seen out of him in the first few, in the short bit that we get at the media viewing practice. I mean, understand it's short, but you do get to see him, and he's technically sound, right? Like, you're going up against air, you're not doing a whole lot of hitting and all those sorts of things, but technically, like, he looks the part, and he looks like he's, put on weight, he's gotten bigger, and he's ready to take on that position. And when Damian George falls behind JC Latham, as it appeared he did on Monday, then that kind of creates now there's a gap. Because sure, JC Latham can hop somebody, but then there's a gap between Latham and whoever the guy that's rolling with the ones is, right? Like, there's a natural gap there because of the experience factor. You can say what you want about Kendall Randolph, but if you got the technical ability and you've got the experience, it makes you a little bit more valuable than a freshman who's got all the athletic ability in the world, but still has to work on the technical side of things and still has to work on the playbook side of things, the mentals, right? So I think as we're moving forward and we're looking at this right tackle position, I feel pretty good about it. If it does end up being Kendall Randolph, I still think it's going to take time. I think it's going to take time to see what happens in the Miami game, what happens in the Florida game, to really feel confident about who that right tackle is going to be. Even if you get up and win these games big and you're able to see multiple guys in that spot, I still think it's going to take time. And it may not be solely down to Kendall Randolph and Damian George and JC Latham, right? There might be other guys that are going to be able to step into those roles as they rotate in different positions, right? Especially as we get deeper and deeper into camp. Just because what we see preliminarily does not mean that that's exactly what we're going to get when the time comes. So feel very confident. You're going to get the best 5. It just might take a minute, but you at least feel confident in the fact that you do have the best 4. Because when you look at that offensive line and the fact that Evan Neal is the left tackle and Chris Owens is the center and Emil Ekiyor brings in experience as well. And, we all rave about what Javion Cohen brings to the table. You're in a spot to really, feel confident about what's going on there with the Alabama Crimson Tide offensive line. How about the wide receivers and the quarterbacks? How did they look? We'll discuss that and more. Tide 100.9, your home for Alabama Crimson Tide sports.
I said chantilly lace and eggshell, not matte.
Colby's interior design consultancy is floored with new clients.
Wait, what am I looking at here? This looks like plaid.
They need an admin with an eye for design and a knack for numbers.
Okay, hey, look, take a look at this. Do those numbers look right?
Indeed can help them hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Screen for quality candidates with the skills your role needs with Indeed assessments. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Don't miss a play at the Sportsbook at Pearl River Resort. Your front row seat to all the action. Place bets on all professional and most college sports at the counter, kiosk, or on your phone. Then catch the game on one of our 20 big screens from the comfort of the newly remodeled Timeout Lounge. Plus, the PRR Sports app gives you access to live, in-play sports betting. Sportsbook at Pearl River Resort. Be more than a fan. Be a player. Must be 21.
Attention business owners, if your biggest question is, how can I find more customers? Then Town Square can help. Go to mylocalcustomers.com for a free competitive analysis that will show you how the most successful businesses grow and how you can do it too. These strategies are simple and we can show you how to apply them to your business. Be one of the first businesses to sign up and you'll receive $500 in free advertising on this radio station. Visit mylocalcustomers.com. That's mylocalcustomers.com.
At Shell, we know from the time you get up to the time you wrap up,
Good night.
there's a lot of meetups, eat-ups, and hurry-ups. So come to Shell and get 3 things done at once. Fill up with Shell V Power Nitro Plus to help keep your engine running like new. Save up with the Fuel Rewards program and never pay full price for gas again. And snack up with in-store rewards to save even more at the pump. Make the most of the stop you need to make with Shell and engines that continuously use Shell V Power Nitro Plus premium gasoline. See full terms and conditions at fuelrewards.com.
This is Renee.
Happy to be here.
She's not some influencer. She's more of a groundbreaker, turning her 4-acre lot into a little slice of heaven behind the wheel of a John Deere 1 Series tractor. Renee runs with us because the most important job is the next one.
That's all I got.
Nothing runs like a Deere. Get a 1 Series tractor for just $99 per month at your John Deere dealer today. For additional cost information, please call toll-free 855-633-2315.
You're listening to Off the Edge on Tide 100.9.
We're back on Off the Edge, Tide 100.9, your home for Alabama sports. Jacob Harrison with you, producing the show. Bryant Horn, Palmer McCall, big thanks to them. Alabama Vintage, AlabamaVTG.com, at AlabamaVTG on the Instagram account. Go check them out today, 2210 University Boulevard, under the Crimson Awning, across from City Hall in the heart of downtown T-Town. Charlie's got the hookup for you, no matter your needs as an Alabama fan, whether it is commemorative T-shirts, sweaters, starter jackets, jerseys, a growing selection of jerseys, big-time professionals, Hall of Fame style jerseys in there, great throwback jerseys, the growing and incredible hat wall, a growing selection of shoes, all the memorabilia you could possibly hope to fill your home with. All of it is there. Alabama Vintage, AlabamaVTG.com, and at AlabamaVTG on the Instagram account. Be sure to look out for the brand ambassadors for 15% off your order at AlabamaVTG.com. So, teased a little bit. quarterbacks and wide receivers, we got to see them run drills on air, which also gave us more of an understanding of what the pairings were. So, Bryce Young threw to John Mechie, Javon Baker, and Slade Bolden, while Paul Tyson threw to Jamison Williams, Trayshawn Holden, and Tal Jones-Bell. Jalen Milroe threw to Ja'Cory Brooks, Ajayi Hall, and Christian Leary. Now, that kind of helps us understand what the depth is at wide receiver. Why I feel a little bit more confident in my Jamison Williams take is, Javon Baker's spot right there, not totally safe. Not totally safe. And, we know that he's started to carve a role for himself late last season, much like Xavier Williams did. And we'll touch on his situation here in just a bit. But, you get an idea that this is a tight race, right? Trayshawn Holden had a great A-Day game as well. Ajayi Hall had a great A-Day game, and yet he's running with the third group here, right? So everybody's got to get up and everybody's got to earn their spot. Everybody's got to show that they're willing to buy into the process and continue to get better. The same theme that has held true throughout the entire show. It's repetitive, but it's the point, right? It's the point that's made with the Alabama Crimson Tide as to why things are structured the way they are, why you have to work for absolutely everything that you get. Now, that being said, looking at the quarterbacks, all three look great. All three look good. In those on-air passes, I think Jalen Milroe was the only one that missed a pass. I think he missed it to Christian Leary. But regardless, I mean, just looking at Jalen Milroe, like it brings that discussion of him challenging Paul Tyson early really to the forefront, because he looks like a physical specimen. He looks incredible, even from a distance and through the eye of a camera lens. Like, he is an imposing guy. His body build and his structure is something that leads you to believe he's going to be something very, very special down the road. Now, that being said, accuracy, control might be the things that he needs to work on the most, but that's basing it off of one incomplete pass and some regular quarterback drills. But that being said, you still look at what John Mechie brings to the table as a wide receiver, what Slade Bolden brings to the table as a wide receiver, with Jamison Williams, Trayshawn Holden, all these guys that are going to be able to line up, catch passes from Bryce Young during the regular season. Bryce Young has got it made in the shade, man. Like, he's got the wide receivers to make this thing work and to work incredibly, incredibly well. I'm excited to see how it continues to move forward for him. That being said, we know about Xavier Williams not being listed on the online roster. According to our friend Drew DeArmond, it's for a medical reason, but there's really not a lot of information on the situation, right? Until we hear from Nick Saban or those somebody of that kind of caliber of power, you're not going to understand the full story as far as what's going on with Xavier Williams. He did, carve out a role for himself late in the season. All of his passes came late in, in the postseason, those sorts of things. It's a struggle, right? It's upsetting to a degree, right? Because you're trying to figure out who these guys are, right? And happy for Trayshawn Holden, but I mean, just because you sign with Jay-Z does not mean you're a starting wide receiver, right? Just because you're getting all the NIL deals, the first NIL deal for Alabama, all these that doesn't mean anything. Like, you're still running with the twos, right? So when you look at Xavier Williams not being available for this team, and you're looking at this passing game going, okay, well, we know X is gone. We know that there's a battle here between Javon Baker and Jamison Williams and Trayshawn Holden at the very least, not to mention the freshmen who are vying for reps and trying to get on the field. Jahleel Billingsley and the trouble that he got into, you're hoping that, that just doesn't resurface again. That, Nick Saban's going to talk through the media and he's going to get it into your skull that, you need to do what's right or you're not going to be around. But at the same time, like, you're looking at all these and it's like, there's even more questions than we didn't anticipate. These are questions that we were hoping, wouldn't exist. But you get into the training camp, you get into what's going on, and you start to realize, like, there's something here, right? There is something going on where, you've got to start to feel a little bit more confident about what's going on with the wide receivers. Of course, you're going to feel good about John Mechie. You're going to feel good about Slade Bolden. You're going to feel good about Jahleel Billingsley as long as he's on the field. But as we continue to ride through and try to figure out what this passing game is going to look like, it's going to be a ride. It's going to be a ride. But we're continuing to see, what's going on. We're continuing to get a clearer and clearer idea of what to expect from this Alabama offense, this passing game. And I'm telling you, like, I'm going to feel confident about Bryce Young. I'm going to feel confident about all of these guys up until I have a reason not to. But I'm still a little bit more skeptical now than I was about this passing game, simply because of these questions that have been raised. You're down a veteran, and we still have this massive battle. I feel good about Jamison Williams, and I feel good about Mechie and Bolden and Billingsley, but we're still, in a spot where we've got to continue to see some progress out of that group. I think, we go in expecting that to be the biggest question mark, and it's turned out to be that same reality, right? 205-342-9904 is the number to call. Join the show, join the conversation. Any questions that anybody has out there, feel free to answer those as well. It appears that Justin Aboigbe is going to be the guy to take over the role for LeBron Ray on the defensive line now that Ray is out dealing with the groin injury. We're anticipating his return closer to the start of the season, which is fine because he's a guy that gets the mentals right. He's a guy that he's a veteran. He knows where he's at with the playbook and those sorts of things. But still, and you feel good about Aboigbe. You feel good about LeBron Ray, about Fedarian Mathis. Between them and one of the reps that I saw was Jamil Burrows. So it's exciting to see that he's coming around. Tim Smith is the guy to watch, though. He's still the guy to watch, especially if there are any injuries on the defensive line. Like, that just means more opportunities for a guy like Tim Smith, who is behind for kind of the same reasons as Christian Barmore, right? He's behind because of the mentals and the run fit and understanding the scheme and what you've got to do. You can't just be full speed ahead as a defensive lineman. You'll leave your linebackers out to dry, right? But that being said, I fully agree with our guy Clint Lamb out on the Twitter. That's a guy that is ready to make a serious impact for this team. He's got the goods. He's a consistent threat. And, you feel, this is why I've felt fine about this defense the entire time, is because we're in a spot where the defensive line has so much depth that while, yes, you don't want guys to go down. Don't get me wrong. You do not want guys to go down. But there's so much depth there that you feel confident that the guys that need to step up and play next man up are fully prepared to do so, are fully prepared to go in and get the job done. That being said, you do want to see, the understanding of the scheme and the defense, right? The things that made Christian Barmore even more effective later in his career, when he started to understand those things and stop. And it wasn't just about being an incredible pass rusher. It wasn't just about being disruptive in the backfield. It was about providing for your defense. It was about living within the schematics of what the defense calls upon you, right? So those sorts of things are important on the defensive front. And I think when you calculate it all together, you've still got something that's incredibly special for the Alabama Crimson Tide defense. We'll take a break. Come back and continue the conversation. 205-342-9904 is the number to call. You can join the show and bring your topics to the forefront, and we'll answer any questions as well. I'm Jacob Harrison, Off the Edge, Tide 100.9.
Don't miss a play at the Sportsbook at Pearl River Resort. Your front row seat to all the action. Place bets on all professional and most college sports at the counter, kiosk, or on your phone. Then catch the game on one of our 20 big screens from the comfort of the newly remodeled Timeout Lounge. Plus, the PRR Sports app gives you access to live, in-play sports betting. Sportsbook at Pearl River Resort. Be more than a fan. Be a player. Must be 21.
Attention business owners, if your biggest question is, how can I find more customers? Then Town Square can help. Go to mylocalcustomers.com for a free competitive analysis that will show you how the most successful businesses grow and how you can do it too. These strategies are simple and we can show you how to apply them to your business. Be one of the first businesses to sign up and you'll receive $500 in free advertising on this radio station. Visit mylocalcustomers.com. That's mylocalcustomers.com.
At Shell, we know from the time you get up to the time you wrap up,
Good night.
there's a lot of meetups, eat-ups, and hurry-ups. So come to Shell and get 3 things done at once. Fill up with Shell V Power Nitro Plus to help keep your engine running like new. Save up with the Fuel Rewards program and never pay full price for gas again. And snack up with in-store rewards to save even more at the pump. Make the most of the stop you need to make with Shell and engines that continuously use Shell V Power Nitro Plus premium gasoline. See full terms and conditions at fuelrewards.com.
This is Renee.
Happy to be here.
She's not some influencer. She's more of a groundbreaker, turning her 4-acre lot into a little slice of heaven behind the wheel of a John Deere 1 Series tractor. Renee runs with us because the most important job is the next one.
That's all I got.
Nothing runs like a Deere. Get a 1 Series tractor for just $99 per month at your John Deere dealer today. For additional cost information, please call toll-free 855-633-2315.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Partially sunny with scattered showers and thunderstorms through early tonight. Today's high 93, tonight's low 73. Very similar weather tomorrow. Morning sunshine, scattered showers and storms developing by afternoon. The high also 93. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 89 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Follow Off the Edge on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube for live streams and instant analysis. Off the Edge with Jacob Harrison continues.
We're back here on Off the Edge, Tide 100.9, your home for Alabama Crimson Tide Sports. Brian, I think that's that song, dude. Sorry about that. The USA Today's preseason coaches poll has been released. No surprise, the Alabama Crimson Tide sits atop the top of the mountain. Bryant Horn currently working on the story. Alabama, number 1. Clemson, number 2. Oklahoma, number 3. Ohio State, number 4. Georgia sits at number 5. 6 is Texas A&M. Notre Dame at 7. Iowa State at 8. North Carolina at 9. Cincinnati at 10. Florida at 11. Oregon at 12. LSU at 13. I don't know about that one. USC sitting at 14. Wisconsin 15, Miami 16, Indiana 17, Iowa, Texas, Penn State round out the top 20, Washington, Oklahoma State, UL Lafayette, Coastal Carolina, and Ole Miss round out the top 25. I'm not feeling number 13 for LSU at all. At all. Like, I feel pretty good about where that top 10 stands, but man, LSU. And I know I'm high on Ole Miss, like a lot higher than most people are. And I know I'm low on LSU, a lot lower than most people are. But what we've seen out of both quarterbacks that they had going into the season, right, which is presumptively when this was voted on before, the injury, right? It's not like they voted on it yesterday. We still saw nothing out of LSU to really make you believe that either of those quarterbacks could lead that team to anything particularly special. And you could say, well, Jacob, we never saw anything particularly special out of Joe Burrow, and look at what happened in 2019. Sure, but the changes aren't drastic enough. There's nothing there. I like Max Johnson, and I think that actually this is somewhat of a blessing in disguise. You're not happy about Miles Brennan's injury by any stretch of the imagination, but I think Max Johnson is the better quarterback regardless. So when you look at the fact that he's going to be the starting quarterback, I still don't see anything with the LSU Tigers to make me feel at all confident that they're really in a spot to be one of the 15 best teams in the country. I'm not feeling that at all. I am a little shocked that Oklahoma's at 3 and not at 2 because of Spencer Rattler, because of what that offense returns. Of course, we know about what DJ Uiagalelei is as a quarterback for the Clemson Tigers as well, but that's certainly, I don't know. I mean, you're splitting hairs at that point. I will say, nothing surprising about the omission of certain programs such as the Auburn Tigers. But it's a it's a preseason coaches poll. It is kind of what it is. We'll say I think Indiana should be a little bit higher as well, but overall, feel pretty good about that. What I've got coming up in store on Tide109.com is the All Alabama NFL team. Now, not to be confused with the fantasy team. Did something similar last year. Felt pretty good about that. Going to try to make some improvements on it. About halfway done with it now. It's bizarre though. Like, for the fact that there's almost 80 players from the Alabama Crimson Tide in the NFL, no starting right guard, and no starting pass rushers. You believe that in all of the great defenses from the Alabama Crimson Tide, we're looking at an NFL that has a void of pass rushers. We're looking at Anthony Jennings and Christian Miller and Terrell Lewis as the best pass rushers from the Alabama Crimson Tide. Now, of course, they were great here. They were incredible here. Did incredible things. But when you're looking at what they bring to the table as NFL pass rushers, it's not quite there yet. Terrell Lewis probably, has the best opportunity to actually contribute to his team. Jennings and Christian Miller both kind of buried on their squads respectively, but kind of interesting on that forefront that there are no pass rushers. Tim Williams didn't work out. Most of the top pass rushers from Alabama over the past 10 years have been interior guys. You look at Jonathan Allen and Quinnen Williams and those kind of guys, right? Wallace Gilberry was a guy who, had to move to the inside a little bit. So no, it's kind of surprising on that forefront. We'll, welcome back the additions of CJ Mosley, Donta Hightower. They get to fill out those inside linebackers. But a lot of fun stuff there brewing with Tide109.com on the written side. Of course, Bryant will have the write-up for you on the USA Today coaches poll. You can learn about Henry To'oTo'o's leadership, the situation with Xavier Williams, Jahleel Billingsley being back at practice, and the latest on LeBron Ray's injury. I got to say, though, still, I mean, just disappointed in the fact that LeBron Ray is dealing with yet another injury. I mean, a guy's got to catch a break at some point, right? A guy has got to be able to just do what he's great at, right? All of these nagging injuries over the years are just, they're difficult. They're difficult to have to deal with. And speaking of that as well, with Scott Cochran, I know there's some rumors or some, conflicting reports with what Cochran's situation is with the Georgia Bulldogs, but I guess, it felt like I was kind of put in a little bit of a spot yesterday when one of the callers asked, about the situation here with Alabama and how good the strength and conditioning program is, because it coincided right with the timing of what was going on with Scott Cochran at Georgia, who's stepping down there, citing his mental health issues, concerns rather. We talked about it with Simone Biles and some of those other things. Like, you can have a negative opinion of somebody based off of the work and, negative analysis, I should say, rather than opinion. I don't have a negative opinion of somebody I haven't met, but with Scott Cochran, like there's that negative there because you do the math. It's obvious where a lot of the injuries were stemming. It was from his program, right? And that sucks. That really sucks on the back end to look at it, because we're watching football. We're wanting guys to stay healthy, and we're wanting guys to do what they can. And that wasn't the case here. And it became apparent once he was gone and Dr. Matt Ray and David Ballou come in. But, you know, the best wishes go out to Scott Cochran that he's able to solve these issues and get back into coaching and continue to improve and to get better as a coach in his own right. See, that's the thing. We often look at players and we're like, what do they have to do to continue to get better, right? What do they have to do to continue to improve? Coaches are the same way, man. You haven't arrived just because you land a D1 position coach job, right? You haven't arrived just because you land a D1 coordinator position or a head coaching position. There's always room to continue to grow and to grow and to grow and to continue to evolve and become an even better football coach. We see it with Nick Saban, and I touched on it a few weeks ago, where the ability to take in new information and try new things. We see it now with the white padded helmets during practice to kind of help with player safety, you can look around the NFL and you'll see them mostly on offensive linemen and defensive linemen, but you can look around the NFL and see those sorts of things too, where we're implementing things that can help keep these players safe during practice so that they can at least get out of the games, because most injuries do take place in practice. Most injuries take place there, not in the games. So you want to at least get these guys out there in a position to play in these football games and to create value for themselves. Because when you look at what's going on with LeBron Ray, and I'm not saying that they're tied, LeBron Ray's injuries with Scott Cochran's. LeBron Ray's been hurt through both situations, but you want these guys to stay you want them to stay healthy and stay on the field. So it kind of is what it is with the Scott Cochran deal. I think that at the end of the day, it's an opportunity for him to improve and to get back out there. We'll have time for one more phone call here, 205-342-9904 here in just a bit before we close it down. Got about 3 minutes left in the show. But still, I'm excited with what the things that we have seen out of practice here so far. Excited to get back here in a few days as well to see what kind of evolves for the Alabama Crimson Tide moving forward. Feel good about. Yeah, let's just go out and go to the phone lines now so we can put this. It's super hot in here, and it has been, and so it is frying my brain. I do not operate well when I'm hot. So I had to put the fan under me just to try to survive the last 15 minutes of the show. We got 3 minutes left, but we'll go out to Lance. Lance, what's going on, man?
All right. Let me ask you this. Coach Saban is ahead of his time, if you ask me. He is such a visionary on so many different things. And I wonder, how can we look back on history and see that some of the things that he has done is ahead of the times, and that the NCAA has changed regulations, procedures about that? How do we access that?
Well, I think you can just look and appreciate the fact that he's seen all of these things coming, right? He's seen the way that the offenses began to combat his defenses. He saw that what was working against him and tried to make it work. Like he talked about at SEC Media Days, bringing in Lane Kiffin to evolve the offense into what it exists now. He warned us what the future of bowl games would be once the college football playoffs began. Warned those in favor of the transfer portal. Hey, if you do this, I'm going to get my guys too. I'm going to lose a lot more. They're going to go play for you guys, but I'm going to get really big names too, and it's going to benefit me. And then you look at the ability to improve so drastically with the strength and conditioning program to help these players stay more healthy. I mean, he sees all of these things coming. His biggest trait is the ability to evolve and to continue to improve. And I think it's absolutely incredible. It's something that nobody should lose sight of.
And one of the things is all those people he got on as I don't know what you call them, assistants, or that they would. Man, I don't even know what you call them. 20 something of them, I think, that would be helping out about looking at different games and making recommendations and that sort of thing.
Right.
That has never been done. That has never been done before.
Yeah, he's found ways to expand his staff with guys that are basically labeled as interns and those sorts of things.
Right.
But it's
There you
incredible.
go. Man. Well, all right. Well, okay. I'm going to try looking up some of these things. But he is the head of his time. That's all there is to it.
Absolutely, Lance. We appreciate it, man. Take it easy.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Absolutely. Big thanks to Bryant. Big thanks to Palmer. Big thanks to Alabama Vintage. I'm going to go get out of the sun, man. This heat advisory, it ain't for me. We'll wrap it up. Off the Edge. Tide 100.9, your home for Alabama sports.